A very good afternoon. My name is Megha Murthy, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Roundglass Sustain, a social impact initiative that tells stories on India's natural world. Nature, in all its diversity, is a magnificent teacher in interconnectedness. Each element, from the tiniest microorganism to the towering trees, plays a critical part in this incredible tapestry of life. Ecosystems have evolved for millions of years, becoming diverse and complex biological communities, living in balance with their environment. Today, we have a set of 3 films that demonstrate how natural ecosystems are fine examples of these complex systems and why a disruption in this intricate web can lead to a cascade of problems. Our first film, The Sal Symphony, is in the Sal forest of Uttarakhand. The Sal ecosystem has evolved over millions of years and is home to over 600 species of birds, more than 50 species of mammals, and over 25 species of reptiles. These forests are not just a collection of trees, but a community that nurtures and protects each other. The second film, Sentinels of Our Coast, is on a very special ecosystem that guards India's coastline, the mangrove forest. The film takes an intricate look at one very special mangrove species that is a showstopper of sorts, the rhizophora. Its bright, broad, lush leaves store water, and its roots give sanctuary to so many creatures. These coastal ecosystems also show resilience to climate change by acting as carbon sinks and by guarding the coast against the rising sea levels. Our third film talks about how imperative it is to maintain this delicate balance between cities and their natural surroundings. Aravali Bachao, a citizens' movement, highlights the role of a few citizens as they fight for the survival of the Aravalis, one of the world's oldest mountain ranges and Delhi NCR's lifeline.
Dawn breaks over the Kolu River in the Sal forest of Uttarakhand. This loud call belongs to the great slaty woodpecker. The largest surviving woodpecker in the world. This family of 4 has emerged from its roost at the crack of dawn. They settle on a bare branch and chatter away, planning a full day of roving and foraging. Sal forests are a favorite of these boisterous and social woodpeckers. But even though the Sal forest is one of the most significant habitats of Uttarakhand, the great slaty woodpecker is a rare find. Dr. Raman Kumar has spent over 2 decades exploring the ecological relationship between these birds and their habitat.
So the great slaty woodpecker is the largest surviving woodpecker in the world, and it's about 50 centimeters in length. Imagine a woodpecker of this size would naturally require trees of proportionate size for it to be able to build cavities in. So it's a wide-ranging woodpecker, but it has a preference for this kind of forests which are known as dipterocarp forests. And Sal is a dipterocarp, which means the trees which have winged fruit. Since the great slaty has evolved to specialize on dipterocarps, so Sal is the most widespread dipterocarp we have. The great slaty woodpecker is an old growth specialist. It prefers areas which have old sal trees, and naturally those areas are a very tiny proportion of all the sal forests we have.
it's not only the great slaty woodpecker. A sal forest nurtures a wild variety of creatures, rare as well as common. Nestled between the Corbett and Rajaji National Parks, straddling Garhwal and Kumaon regions of Uttarakhand, lie the rich sal forests of Lansdowne Division. Home to over 600 species of birds, more than 50 species of mammals, and 25 species of reptiles, the sal forest is a habitat that has evolved around the great sal tree. From the Asiatic elephant and the Royal Bengal tiger to the piculet, probably the smallest woodpecker in the world, the sal forest is a complex ecosystem that has evolved over millennia. Freshwater rivulets crisscross the forest, creating a thriving ecosystem abuzz with life. A group of merganser ducks dive to catch a prized mahasir. Downstream, a golden jackal has a similar breakfast plan. A crested kingfisher goes about its morning hunt. Bull elephants display their dominance over one another to earn the right to join a family. Large herds of nomadic mammals need the safety of healthy, balanced, and contiguous habitats to survive and thrive. The sal forest is one such perfect habitat. These tropical moist deciduous forests are mainly distributed along the foothills of the Himalayas, from Assam to Punjab. Stretches are also found in West Bengal, Central India, and Odisha. The sal belongs to an ancient family of very tall trees. It is the dominant species of any sal forest. The giant stands like a sentinel, providing shelter and nourishment to its residents. The sal trees are a favorite with nature's most prolific engineers, the woodpeckers. These drillers play a significant role in keeping these forests healthy.
There are at least 15 different kinds of woodpeckers in the sal forests of northern India. They are one of the few creatures which have the ability to make cavities in trees. Cavities are a much sought after resource by a lot of birds and animals and reptiles as well. And in a season, a woodpecker has to build a cavity to both nest and to roost. A woodpecker ends up building multiple cavities in a year. If you have a variety of woodpeckers ranging from a small one to a large one, you can imagine the variety of the size of the cavities they are creating in a forest and the variety of creatures which in turn depend on these cavities for their existence.
A healthy population of woodpeckers means a healthy, flourishing forest.
The woodpeckers have evolved along with the sal. It's natural, and the relationships are many millennia old. Sal offers them a lot of resources. They are primarily insectivorous. So, for example, the bark of the sal has such a structure that it hides a lot of insects, which end up being food for woodpeckers. Woodpeckers are also beneficial to sal forests because they keep explosion of insect populations under control.
At first glance, these forests look untouched. But a closer look reveals another story.
These forests which we look around, they are called pristine and good forests, but they are intensively managed. I mean, they have been manipulated a lot in the past, and that's what gives them their regimented structure. Nature doesn't prefer a manicured forest or a manicured garden. It's wild. So that means you have different kinds of species occurring together, not this monoculture. The first thing which humans tend to do is to reduce the diversity. So the other trees which are associates of sal have been systematically removed, so as to give us a pure sal crop. The other thing which makes a lot of difference is the age profile. If you have individuals of the same age together, then only certain kinds of wildlife or birds can benefit from that. In a natural forest, all ages should be present. Sal is so slow growing that it takes decades or even centuries to reattain that natural state. On a very broad scale, sal suffers from a lack of regeneration. And of course, that means that the future is in question.
साल 100 साल खड़ा 100 साल पड़ा 100 साल सड़ा. This tree has taken much more than 100 years to attain its full glory. Around it, life has evolved and found protection. Even after it dies, it remains standing and continues to give shelter. And once it falls, it provides sustenance to small organisms. These forests are not just a collection of sal trees, but a community nurturing and protecting each other. Destroying sal trees has everlasting repercussions. Trying to restore an ecosystem may relieve wounds of the past, but it cannot recreate the balance of intricate relationships created over centuries in a natural habitat.
This is no ordinary seed. It's the seed of a plant with a complex reproduction system, just like that of humans. A plant that germinated inside the mother plant has finally broken away. Now, the flow of time and tide will determine where the young traveler reaches. During low tide, it will sink into the soil and settle in. Roots will seize soft moving sands, leaves will reach for light, and slowly grow into the rhizophora tree. Mangrove forests guard India's coastline with a dense cover of nearly 4,921 square kilometers. Among the many mangrove species, Rhizophora steals the show. Ethereal and resolute, it is submerged during high tide and visible as the water recedes. It grows in highly saline intertidal zones where waterlogged soil has very little oxygen. Each of its organs is equipped with superpowers to survive the harsh, saline environment. Its gnarly breathing roots are sturdy anchors. The tall stilts spread out and hold on to the soil, keeping the plant firm against waves and winds. Their barks are studded with pores that let in oxygen, helping the submerged root systems breathe. Its thick, broad leaves store water just like desert succulents do. A wax-like coating seals the water in, reducing transpiration. The older leaves store excess salt that exits the plant as they shed. Rhizophora clusters are safe houses and feeding grounds for several marine creatures. Fish, crabs, and snakes thrive here. The tangle of roots is a nursery for many. During low tide, birds use these branches to rest and hunt. These thick mangroves hold on to the soil and prevent erosion. Floodwaters flow into these dense roots and lose their speed and force. They are shields that protect the coast from strong waves, winds, and cyclones. Mangroves are sentinels of our coasts, sheltering and protecting life all the way. But we are destroying these green guards. In India, they have been cut down to make way for urban development, ports, aquaculture, and tourism. Pollution is hampering their growth. Despite all the pressures, they continue to guard our coast and cities. But for how long?
Human greed threatens one of the oldest mountain ranges in the world. The Aravallis, the lifeline of India's capital city and its neighborhood, is going through a crisis.
Primarily the ecosystem of this region, particularly southern Haryana, the NCR region, is dictated by the health of Aravallis.
If Aravallis go, we go. As simple as that.
But now, citizens are standing up for the Aravallis.
बचाना है, बचाना है।
I'm a documentary filmmaker and my job has always been to tell the story. But here for the first time, as a member of the Aravalli Bachao movement, I am part of the story.
नहीं मिलेगा हमारा वोट, नहीं मिलेगा हमारा वोट।
The Aravallis run about 692 kilometers from Gujarat and Rajasthan to Haryana and Delhi. In some parts, they're relatively green. But in Haryana, their forests have been badly degraded. Estimates put the area covered by the Aravallis in Haryana at about 40,000 hectares. They're a massive green lung for Delhi and the surrounding areas, a region already facing severe air pollution. These forests are part of a critical wildlife corridor in Faridabad and Gurgaon and are home to some magnificent species of plants and animals. The Aravalis give refuge to leopards, jackals, hyenas, and several other wild species. But today, these forests are severely threatened.
This is absolutely the last opportunity we have to save the Aravalis so that they can save us, and not just people, but the wildlife, the trees, the entire ecosystem.
Forest cover in Haryana is extremely low. It is just 3.6%, which is the lowest in the country.
In 2019, some of us felt compelled to act.
We did a series of protests outside the metro stations of Huda and Sikandarpur.
We knew we had to urgently stand up to the threats that the Aravalis face. Mining had wiped out 25% of these hills by the late 60s. Even though it was banned by the Supreme Court in 2004, it continues illegally. Some deep quarries expose groundwater that continuously evaporates, lowering the water table.
Supreme Court had appointed a committee to investigate on the problem of mining in Aravalis. They found out that 31 hills had disappeared in Rajasthan over a period of time. And Supreme Court was pretty angry. Despite the ban, we see that mining continues even till date in Haryana as well.
Faridabad and Gurgaon's waste has been dumped in a 250 feet deep mining pit for years, till the landfill became a toxic mountain. It's near an aquifer and next to the only unspoiled stretch of forests in the Haryana Aravalis. The National Green Tribunal has taken note of how leachate from this landfill has polluted the groundwater.
The government is proposing to put up a waste-to-energy plant in that same area. On paper, that sounds like a really good idea because it'll take this mountain of trash, get rid of it by burning it, and produce energy in return. Now, for that to happen, you really need waste which has high calorific value in nature. What we find at Bandwari instead is mixed waste, which consists 60% of it is food waste, a lot of it is plastics and e-waste and other things. Now, when you put something like that into the WET plant, what you'll get instead is a lot of smoke, which contains dioxins and other carcinogenic material, which will end up polluting and increasing the air pollution load of the NCR region.
The estimated population for the National Capital Region is about 30.2 million. The last 3 decades has seen a rapid jump in the population. Just the last 10 years has seen a 40% growth. This has led to huge pressure on resources, especially land. The resultant boom in real estate is perhaps the biggest threat to the Aravalis. Some time back, Chetan Agarwal, an environmentalist and forest analyst, took some citizens, including journalists, to see how land is illegally built upon.
So overnight, about an acre or 2 acres were cleared and the trees were just felled and with bulldozers.
Around 50,000 acres of the Aravalis are not even classified as forests, keeping them open to all kinds of exploitation. The one ray of hope protecting another 60,000 acres of these forests is a law made in 1900, the Punjab Land Preservation Act, PLPA. Under this law, many activities like mining, cutting trees, or construction are banned in notified areas. But in 2019, a bill was introduced to amend it.
What Punjab Land Preservation Amendment Bill will do is that it will legalize the current construction, because the bill the amendment is retrospective from 1966. So all notifications done after 1966, which come under purview of the bill provisions, will basically be null and void.
The protest picked up. Despite that, the PLPA amendment bill was passed in February 2019. We kept going, taking city dwellers into the Aravalis to share some forest love.
आज बताने आए हैं, एक सच को दिखलाने आए हैं। अरावली है पर्वतमाला, देती है जीवन की धारा।
चलती कुदाल टूटे पत्थर, सड़कों पर पहिए बहते हैं। मुझ में अब मुझसा क्या छोड़ा, मुझे क्यों अरावली कहते हैं।
I mean, poetry conveys the message in very few words. So we thought that we will try to bring a different aspect of reaching out to people, so that people don't just look at it as a protest or activism, and look at it from a perspective of engagement, of fun as well.
The movement steadily gathered steam. Social media helped.
We've actually used Twitter very effectively to reach out to the administration, to the Haryana government, to the officers of the Indian Forest Movement, as well as citizens, conservationists, environmentalists, climate activists across India and internationally.
When our calls for action didn't help, we marched in a funeral procession for the Aravalis. If we don't make our voices heard, Gurgaon, Faridabad and Delhi will become uninhabitable.
Without the Aravalis, our cities would dry up.
Basically, the entire Delhi NCR region, which is currently protected by the Aravalis, will be completely desertified.
It is going to impact the health of our youngsters and senior citizens.
We lose an immense amount of biodiversity.
For our citizens, obviously that's not an option. Citizens' movements are growing across the country, and we hope that we can be a force multiplier. We're going to keep going till forests get enough protection to be able to thrive, not just here in Haryana, but all across the planet.